So the Colts, they transition tag Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
The difference here is the franchise tag would have been just a hair under $44 million. Of course, with the franchise tag, if a team swoops in, they owe you 2 first-rounders if obviously if they get a deal done.
Yeah.
With the transition tag, the value is down to $37.833 million.
Yes.
So you save about $6 million.
Yes.
The risk of that is a team can negotiate with him, can find a deal, and if you do not match that deal, you lose him for nothing.
That's crazy.
We're going to get to Breece Hall and explain why the Jets, who were thinking about the transition tag, went to the franchise tag.
Yeah.
The Colts did the opposite. They don't tag Alec Pierce, because they felt the priority was Daniel Jones to make sure they have him. Now, of course, the risk with this is, Chris, a team can work with Daniel Jones on a deal, and the Colts might not love that deal and have a difficult decision to make. So you'd hope they did their homework and think that's not going to happen.
I think they did. I think the reason they gave the transition tag is they're basically calling the bluff of the NFL.
Right, that no one's going to try.
That they're not, right? Like, think about if you're another team. Yeah, let's pay Daniel Jones $37 million. He's not going to be healthy. He's rehabbing an Achilles. We know some fan bases are like, what? Daniel Jones? Not everybody's bought into that all the way. And we're going to bring him in to be the starter, but we hope he's healthy week 1. We'll do that. People have put him with the Minnesota Vikings a lot. Right? And again, Daniel Jones, almost the opposite of Jalen Hurts, where I go, the disconnect between the public and what the league thinks is totally the opposite. And with Daniel Jones, it's the opposite the other way, right? The public thinks Daniel Jones is not that good and horrible and a bust. And the league is like, Daniel Jones is really freaking good. Kevin O'Connell got to be with him for a month, and he was like, I don't think I want him to be my starter.
Right.
In fact, if we win the wild card game and Sam Darnold doesn't play good, I might play him the next week in the divisional game. Like, it was to that point. They wanted to keep him. Here's Shane Steichen, who you know is another guy I'd put in the quarterback offensive genius category. And here he is like, I want Daniel Jones.
I got to have him.
I got to have him. He's big. He's smart. He's a machine throwing the football. He's way more athletic than people realize. You know that because you watch. But, again, I always go back to, like, I haven't seen too many quarterbacks run for 80 yards in the recent history, and he's one of them.
I mean, his GPS
he tripped
numbers
at the 5,
are wild.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
he builds up speed as well as just about any quarterback.
He's an Adonis that way.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think they looked at it and went, do we really think anybody is going to offer him this kind of money? And we really think, like, the Vikings, who are rumored to be out there, they're going to bring in Daniel Jones with J.J. McCarthy and not be totally sure about the health and deal with that? And can he actually practice all training camp to push J.J. McCarthy the way we want and win the job? And I think they looked at it and went, nah, I think that's far-fetched. Let's save the $6 million. That could be another good player, maybe 2 players on our football team that help round out our roster. And I think ultimately that's what they decided on. And I think that they'll be perfectly fine. I'd be shocked if somebody made that offer to Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and the Vikings of it all, they don't, on paper right now, have the cap space to make that level of an offer.
That's right. That's right. And, I'm glad you brought that up because, and that's something we'll talk about when we get into the free agency podcast tomorrow and even with some of this stuff here. But, yeah, Minnesota, as we sit here right now, is $44 million over the cap. Right, roughly.
We're going to talk about the Gernard
Dallas
of it
Cowboys,
all today.
58 above the cap. I mean, there's some teams there, the Browns, the Saints, who weren't even good football teams. When you go, how the hell could you be in this much cap, purgatory? With
borderline hell.
Hell, right? And that just speaks to the bad team building and the bad contracts that have been given for years and years there. And then you go, well, that's why they're the Saints and the Browns right now.
So the Cowboys of it all, too, when you look at a team like that, you have to remember, and of course there's all these restructures that happen to open up space.
Yeah.
But when you tag someone, there's no manipulating that number.
No.
The number is what it is. It's on your cap. You can't throw on 5 void years or restructure. Like, that's why teams sometimes, and we're going to have the larger franchise tag conversation soon, are like, I don't know if we want to do that right now. The big trickle effect of this is Alec Pierce is scheduled to become a free agent. We know how badly the Colts want him back. Here's a little hint, though. The rest of the NFL wants Alec Pierce, too.
Yeah.
I think his market, now that he gets to test it, you and I have been hovering like, will he get to 30? Will he, won't he? It felt like 28, 29. You never know with the open market. This is risky.
You don't know with the open market. It's rare that this kind of big playability guy comes available in the NFL. This is 2 years in a row that White Lightning has led the NFL in yards per catch. It's crazy.
Right.
I mean, what do you have, 49 catches last year for over 1,000 yards? Am I right? I'm right around there.
And think of how much of that was with a quarterback that really couldn't throw the ball more than 15 yards down the field.
Well, exactly.
Nothing against Philip Rivers.
There's that.
And
then the years before that with not good quarterback play either.
Right.
I mean, that's where I always stuck up for Shane Steichen. I was going, wait, they were competitive and almost went to the playoffs with a quarterback that threw for less than 50%. And yet was still capable of making big plays and doing that. So, yeah, I mean, they're playing with fire right now with Alec Pierce, because I wouldn't be shocked if a few teams got involved and it starts to drive up the price, and then you don't know where it goes from there. But Alec Pierce, I think, is going to be, and he had 47 receptions, not 49, 47 for 21.3 yards per catch and 6 touchdowns. But I know we kind of hit on this the other day. Explosive playmakers, I think, are becoming more, and this is why the running back, I think, is a little bit more back in vogue. The NFL is looking at it going, wait, the thing in the NFL right now is play defenses and make teams drive, right? That's what it is.
More plays.
Make more plays. If we feel like if they run 12 plays, they'll mess up on one and we'll have a chance to get the ball back. And then we're not going to let them score a touchdown. We're just going to hold them to a field goal. That's kind of the way. And because of that, I think that's because that's where the big play guy has come more in vogue, to where when we need somebody that can catch a slant over the middle, break a tackle, and split the safeties and run for a 60-yard gain, right, and then maybe a touchdown. And that's where the value of that is. Jesse Minter, and I think I said this to you the other day about Jesse Minter. Did I say this to you?
I don't think so.
Well, I talked to him last week. And you were on the pod with me at that point. No, we switched mic in.
I jumped off.
Right.
Yeah.
So I literally, we got into it, and we talked about turnovers. Turnovers are a big part in deciding who wins the game. But I made a comment where I was like, turnovers are great, but I mean, explosive plays seem to be dictating more of who wins the games now than ever before. And he goes, the numbers would bear that out. I think we're at a place now where the most explosive plays, that's the team that wins the game. And I kind of went, I said, think about all the games we had last year where we came in here and we're like, this team turned the ball over 4 times, this team turned the ball over 1 time, but the team that turned it over 4 times won the game because they made big plays too.
I feel like the Bills are like that.
The Bills are like that. Yeah. We've seen that for sure. So yes, within all that, that's the beauty of Alec Pierce, and he's a guy that's got size, and of course he can fly and he can catch 50-50 balls, and he's a good route runner on top of that. So
and he's entering his prime.
He's entering his prime.
The trick
exactly
to free
right.
agency.
Yo. Thanks for watching, homies. We are now in the NFL season here on Chris Simms Unbuttoned.
Hit subscribe to get our weekly picks, game recaps, film deep dives, and much, much more.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe, rate, review. Peace out. You know where to find us.